Are we witnessing the creation of the final version of Windows? And by that, I mean, you know how there's always been major updates to Windows. You had Vista, then there was Windows 7, then Windows 8, then now Windows 10. But Microsoft has been basically working to modularize and make individual components upgradable in their operating system. So instead of having to do one big upgrade, they continuously upgrade it. So this has not been accomplished 100% yet. Microsoft is pretty close. So it's possible that Windows 10 or the next version of Windows will eventually just become Windows, and that will be it, and it'll be compartmentalized and upgraded incrementally. The reason Microsoft is doing this is pretty obvious, because before they had to develop a lot of separate stuff. I mean, Xbox had a completely different base operating system than Windows, and they had their phones, and then all of it was just a mess, and all the teams didn't work with each other. But Microsoft has been pretty much successful in at least putting everything under one core operating system, and they're calling this the one core, the same kernel for all Windows devices. So now we have Xbox, we have PCs, we have like HoloLens, they're all using the same kernel, which is like the core of the operating system, called one core, and that's why we're starting to see some cross features coming into play. So like with playing Xbox games on PC and apps that are universal Windows apps that are compatible with both Xbox and your PC and on HoloLens, it all just works. That's going to be the start of it, and eventually they're going to even just have everything the same. But that doesn't mean that everything will look the same or everything will behave the same, which we can get into. Now, this one core thing that I mentioned basically has everything that is going to be needed on every type of device, no matter what device it is. This is going to contain everything that's the bare essentials. So we'll have the kernel. It'll have like security features. It'll have like authentication. It'll also include storage abilities and power management, stuff like that, that basically everything is going to need no matter what kind of device it is. And it seems that this whole project of using the same core on all devices has the code name for the project called Windows Core OS. So that's not the name of the OS, although it kind of is. It's the name of the project and the OS base components. Now, this might all seem really confusing, and it definitely is, but that's really just because of the naming system. It's all internal, so they haven't really thought up reasonable names for everything, so it's all kind of called the same. The whole project, basically, Windows Core OS, the idea is that they're gonna have the one core, and then instead of having to strip off all these random legacy features that have been built up and accumulated onto Windows all over the years, and taking them off for certain devices, they're going to basically build it from the ground up. So you have this one core, and then each individual component, which will be a separate modular feature that they can add on to any device depending on its needs. So that's the whole thing. For example, there's maybe a cellular data package that wouldn't be needed on a computer, so a computer would never have that installed. If they're making a phone, they would take the core OS, the one core, and then add on the cellular package, among other things. You'd also have things like the Wi-Fi package, which would be installed on pretty much everything, but maybe not a server. Probably don't need a server to have Wi-Fi. It'll probably be hardwired, although there might be the option to install it if you need it. There's also probably several gaming packages, so you would put that on the Xbox. And all of these, again, run the same thing, but depending on what you need, you can install it instead of having all this bloatware like we kind of do now with Windows 10, even though they've improved that. And the reason I have to kind of tell you all this is because there's a couple projects that are upcoming with Microsoft. One is called Andromeda, which is rumored to be like a phone, and or possibly a tablet. People are saying it's going to be like a foldable phone. I don't know how realistic that is, but the idea with this is it's going to run the same operating system as you would have on a desktop, although again, it will just have fewer packages. And the other more significant, interesting one that you might hear about is called Polaris. And this is gonna be kind of like Windows 10s that we have now. You know, I kind of talked crap on that. It's like a really, really stripped down version of Windows that I don't think is even, are they even putting it out on new devices? I don't think so. This is gonna be like a better version of that, where right now we have Windows 10, and especially like Windows 10 Pro. It has a whole bunch of features built in that you'll probably never need, especially consumers that are not really tech savvy. Microsoft is creating this thing called Polaris, which will be like the home version of Windows, but instead of being, bloated with 99% stuff that no one will need, it'll be like a very basic version of Windows. Now, I know a lot of you are thinking, all right, this is stupid. Who cares about this? This is not any different than what we have now with the home version, with the pro version. But it kind of is, because right now how it works is there's a lot of interdependencies, and Microsoft has been continuously working really since 8.1 to remove that. So you might have features in Windows 10 Pro that no one with Windows 10 Home needs, but there might be one thing in that feature that is used by a home feature, so you have to keep the whole thing in. With this, with everything being compartmentalized and with this whole project, literally everything will not be really dependent on anything except maybe the core stuff. So again, you can just add what you need, and it will be a lot more efficient probably, because it won't be bogged down by everything you don't need that is really there, but it's not activated, for example. Now, there's a lot of advantages to having this whole one core thing. First of all, Microsoft is going to save a lot of resources on developing separate versions of everything. I mean, they had to make a separate version of Wi-Fi for the Xbox as opposed to the PC. It was nonsense. Now you create one Wi-Fi module that gets put everywhere. Hopefully this means that as time goes on, there will be less breaking updates because they update one thing and then something else depended on it and it broke that. If everything's compartmentalized, they can ensure that everything in that compartment works, shouldn't break anything else. It also means that you can update one thing of software and it will literally apply to all devices. So instead of having to have separate teams developing features for Xbox and then, oh wow, that's a great feature on Xbox, I wish my desktop had it, it will now. Or they work on something for a PC specifically, but maybe down the line Xbox can benefit from it, it will. And like I said, Microsoft has not really totally accomplished all this yet. One big thing is the UIs for all their different devices. So right now there's like a totally separate shell is what it's called, like the user interface for like Windows, for Xbox, and the project that Microsoft is doing now to basically create one shell for literally everything that'll be so versatile that it can be used by every team, and they're calling this the C shell, the letter C, like composable shell apparently, and this is maybe going to be the final frontier where once they do this, everything will literally be using the same software. It'll just be so customizable you can put it on literally any device, Xbox, desktop, Hololens, anything like that. Now, going into the future, you might be thinking, how does this affect me? What am I going to see realistically with this? And it might actually significantly. For example, when you go to build a PC, maybe instead of now just picking out the hardware components, when you go to install it, if you really want to dig into it, you can install specific software components as well. So maybe you want to, I don't know, have a home theater PC for like streaming videos and stuff, and then you're also an Xbox gamer. You could literally build a gaming PC that does everything. You could install the Xbox component on top of that and use it just like an Xbox because it would all be the same. So maybe in the future, instead of building gaming PCs, we'll also be building Xboxes. Literally, you'll build your own Xbox. Kind of crazy, but it could work. And this is kind of especially so seeing the way consoles are going. So before we had like one game console that would be for like 7 years, Xbox 360, and developers would be developing on the same exact console. All the graphics would always be the same. But now we have 3 Xbox Ones, the original Xbox One, then we have the Xbox One S, the Xbox One X now. It might again just be the case where it'll just be Xbox. And I don't know how that's going to play out, if they do that at all, because one of the main advantages is you can buy an Xbox, you can know all games will play it, but maybe it'll become so modular that developers can build a game and it will literally run on almost anything, just depending on the power. So it'll scale down really easily. We don't know yet. Either way, this is definitely going to have a lot of implications, and I'm sure you can probably imagine right now the advantages you would have with not having to install any features you don't need, or, I don't know, being able to customize your operating system so much that it doesn't matter which version you buy. I don't know. Of course, there's also going to be people who are like, you don't even know how to install Windows by yourself anyway, in which case, I don't know, maybe you just find this video interesting, but still, for a lot of us, it'll be very exciting. Anyway, that's just my opinion on all this stuff. Hopefully I explained some stuff that you might not have understood before. Let me know what you think down in the comments. If you want to keep watching, I'll put some other videos right here. You can just click on those. If you want to subscribe, make 2 videos a week at least, it should be worth it. So thanks again for watching, guys. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.